Hey YouTube, this is Fragments of Memory again, back with the part 2 of my reaction to Mr. Eddie LongStroke himself, getting made the king of the Jews, being wrapped up in the Torah. Wow. Anyway, here's how I look at the whole Eddie Long thing. My father would mention to me two figures that were quite big when he was a much younger person. He talked about a guy by the name of Father Divine, and then another guy named Daddy Grace. Google these people. Google Alta Vista Northern Lights, these guys, Wikipedia, these guys. Whatever search engine you wish to go to, find out who Daddy Grace and Father Divine. These men were making monies hand over fist over their congregants, and the congregants were being led like sheep to the slaughter. Okay? And when you look at people like this, and I can tell you ministers that I remember seeing on television, they got busted on some stuff. Robert Tilton. Remember Robert Tilton? You know, now they make fun of him with the whole farting preacher gags, and it's probably here on YouTube too. Remember Jim Baker. Jim Baker and his wife, or his former wife, Tammy Faye. She's no longer with us. She passed on. But they got busted in the whole PTL scheme. Some of you may or may not be old enough to remember that, but they were basically selling properties, getting the monies for them, but then the properties weren't like being set up correctly or something like that. But basically, Jim Baker went to jail. I already mentioned Jimmy Swaggart in my first part, but there are many other ministers, and you could probably see ministers right now who preach about money, about getting your tithes and your offerings, and they claim that they have a special anointing from God, when in reality, that's not the case. Like heck, let's talk about Creflo Dollar. Let me just let that sit for a minute. Creflo Dollar sounds like a pimp from the 70s name. I mean, really? And your last name is Dollar? And I think he said something where all the non-tithers should be shot. All the non-tithers, he would line them up and shoot them. Really? So... So to me, Eddie Long is just another. This is another slew of crooked preachers and quote unquote holy godly men. These are false prophets trying to mislead the masses. And unfortunately, we're caught under the spell of the bling. We're caught under the spell of the seductive words. So. That's just something that just really hit me. It was like, I see all this, and even black churches I visited, I've seen how devoted, how devoted that women are to, black women especially, to the pastor, the spiritual leader of the church. Oh, that's my spiritual father. That's my pastor. That's my pastor. You can't say nothing bad about pastor. And how about these scenarios where the pastor is actually having sex with women in the congregation? You know, or these people can barely keep their lights on at home, but they're handing the pastor money. And I'm sure you've heard this scenario before, and I'm sure comedians have joked about this, especially in the black community. You know, so I basically just say, when are we as blacks going to wake up? Number one, and realize that if you're someone that chooses Christianity, now again, I'm not a Christian, but if you choose Christianity, make sure you do your research. Make sure you don't just follow the words of one pastor and make him to be God walking on the earth. Because number one, there's only one God. He has no partners. He has no associates. You know, you need to do some serious soul searching. You can't just take the word of the one pastor and then be like, oh, he's anointed. He's got the anointing on him. And I never understood that. Like that church speak always amazed me. He's got the anointing on him. I just never could get with that. Well, that's really my 2 cents on the whole Eddie Long becoming king of the Jews sort of deal. And that's my 2 cents. Peace go with you. Be easy like Sunday morning.